Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 20 of Pumpin Iron, the review series for the classic muscle cars of Gran Turismo 6. And in this episode we're featuring a pretty popular model. It's the 71 Mustang Mach 1. There are a number of Mustangs featured on the game from both Ford and Shelby of course, as well as some other custom manufacturers like Grand Touring Garage. But this model is probably the most popular overall. You see it in lobbies the most, cruise lobbies, race lobbies, sometimes top speed or drag lobbies, but not so much. So what does it have to offer, considering how popular it is? The Mustang has always been a popular muscle car all round, and it has something of a slightly more sporty image to it than many other muscle cars, which tend to be just higher performance versions of existing sedans, whereas the Mustang was from the very start more of a bespoke machine. It was designed to be a muscle car from the start and to be a high performance car. Well, this particular model, although being a big car in itself, doesn't have all that large an engine compared to many of the other muscle cars in the game. It's a 5.8 litre or 351 cubic inch V8 of course, which you can supercharge up to 789 horsepower and 872 foot-pounds of torque. So plenty of torque, but not as much power as you'd probably expect. Now the weight is reasonably good for such a large car, and it is a pretty big car. Significantly wider than something like a Camaro, for instance, or some of the other muscle cars which tend to be longer rather than wide. The Mustang's fairly well proportioned in this particular model, not too long, not too wide, and relatively flat in its appearance. It weighs in at just under 1,300 kilos, so a little bit heavier than some, but still very good overall, nowhere near as heavy as it looks at least. It puts out 610 horsepower per tonne, which is respectable by any muscle car's standards, and the PP sits at, surprisingly, over 600, which means it has one of the highest PP levels of any mainstream muscle car in the game, not including, of course, crazy cars like the Red Devil or the Grand Touring Garage Mustang, etc. 604 is very high. Now that's only around 5 or 6 PP higher than, say, a Cuda or the like, but that 5 or 6 PP takes it into a whole new category of racing, because above 600 PP you can get some pretty crazy fast vehicles. So can this car really compete at this level? Well, to some degree, yes. It's never going to take on something like a Nissan GTR around the majority of tracks and beat it, but as far as muscle cars go, it is a competitive model. It's a fully premium car, which is a nice addition as well. You get the fully detailed interior and some interesting body modifications like the wing and the chin splitter. As far as performance though, I would say that this car's best attribute is actually its top speed. It's a lot quicker than people give it credit for, and a lot quicker than people expect it to be. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's a sleeper car, because it doesn't exactly blend in, but it's certainly a lot quicker than people expect it to be, and it's around 15 to 20 miles per hour quicker than, say, a Camaro or many other slightly lesser powered but still powerful muscle cars. It's slightly quicker also than a Charger or than a Chevelle, so it's pretty well placed as far as muscle cars go. It's one of the slightly newer muscle cars. It's still a classic from 1971, but slightly newer than some of the others, and the price is also very, very good on this car. It's exactly 50,000 credits, which undercuts quite a few of its rivals, and for 50 grand it is a very, very good machine. Being a fully premium model, which as we've mentioned in the series before is relatively rare for muscle cars on the game, is also an added feature. The top speed is around the level of some supercars on the game, similar kind of top speed to say an XJ220, which really puts Gran Turismo's physics into perspective for you. Acceleration is very good despite not having the most power of the muscle car class, and the handling overall is also very good. Now it is to be noted that this car, like many muscle cars, carries the majority of its weight over the front end, but in this muscle car you can feel that more so than in some others. It is quite a tail happy car. Now with less power and stiffer tuning, of course you can bring it in line. And I'm certainly not saying that it's a bad handling car by any means, but it is to be noted that this car is more slippery around corners than many of the other classic muscle cars, even some of which are older and don't have as much technology, really. And the Mustang isn't exactly heavy on technology, but those few years you would have thought would make a big difference to something like handling. But that's not really the case. As I said, not a bad car overall, though, for handling. It's fairly predictable as far as handling goes, pretty beginner-friendly overall. The fact that it doesn't have quite as much power as some of the others, I would say, is possibly a good thing. Because based on its handling at this level, if it did have, say, 8 or 900, even 1,000 horsepower, I think the handling would suffer quite a bit. Although it'd be interesting to see what the equivalent torque would be at that level. It could be pretty massive, potentially. So overall, if you're looking for a strong all-round muscle car that's also a premium for a very good price, then this is definitely the car for you. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.